Welcome to the Spiral of the Rose podcast with our friends Kelli and Bri.
Welcome back to the Spiral of the Rose podcast. Today we have our first ever guest interview. We are interviewing my shamanic teacher and Kelli's shamanic teacher, Maestra Wisdom Dvine. And she is a certified shamanic healer, instructor, and mentor, as well as a shamanic Reiki master, an ordained spiritual minister, and holder of several other certifications and degrees in healing, spirituality, and education. She is a trauma and domestic abuse survivor, and her lifelong journey through self-healing guided her to the revelation that traits such as empathy and psychic intuition are gifts rather than curses. She also founded the accredited Wyzdom Dvine Mystery School, a place of healing and training for gifted helpers. And I am so excited to have her here today. I went through basically my entire spiritual awakening with Maestra Wisdom Dvine. So she knows me pretty well. And she is one of my favorite people. I look up to her so much, and I'm so excited to interview her here today. I know that I've mentioned her previously on this podcast, saying like that week after I left my husband, I got the message that I was a shaman. And then like a week later, I met Maestra. So it was very divinely guided. And yeah, so I'm super excited to talk to you today. And I know, Kelli also, because I introduced her to you as well. And she started taking shamanism classes as well.
So I'm super excited to have this conversation, and such a fun topic too around this time of year, right? It's just all around like excited for this. But yeah, Brianna sort of pulled me into shamanism. I was a little hesitant at first, I have to say. She kept telling me about it, and I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I'm not ready for it yet. like I don't think, like, just give me a few months. And and then eventually I surrendered to it because I felt called, and it's been amazing so far, the classes that I've taken. And I'm going to keep continuing with it because I know that it's part of my path. It was just something of that. We talked about this on the last episode about being resistant to sort of shadow work. And so I feel that it was the same thing with me and shamanism. But I've had nothing but positive experiences so far with it. So
yeah. And I think I actually forgot to mention that, but we're going to discuss mediumship today. And we slightly mentioned it on our last episode because we were talking about shadow work. And then we were like, we kind of touched on how both Kelli and I were so resistant to mediumship specifically. And it was just, we were just like, okay, we need to have Maestra on here. We need to talk about mediumship, especially because this episode is going to go out right before Halloween, right before Samhain. So super excited about that. So Maestra, can you, I would love to hear if you have anything else you want to add before we get really going. Introduce yourself a little bit, anything you want to share.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you guys for having me. I didn't know I was your first guest, so I'm super duper honored to hear that. That's really, really cool. So thank you guys for having me. I love having you both. I love watching how Kelli, Brianna just really, really, really just dragged you in. I saw it's like slowly happening. And the guides are showing me, and I'm just seeing these little trickles of you like being kind of I will say that I felt like our deal was sealed when you came to my Samhain the shamanic circle for Samhain that I invited you to, and we got to talk about the goddess and the witchy stuff and the spooky things and how it all started. And so I was like, oh, that just felt like that sealed us. That sealed our bond from that moment on. So
that makes a lot of sense because Kelli's really into that stuff too.
I know.
I'm so scared of it all.
That's how I always see her too. My journeys when it comes to her, they're always like super witchy and they're super cool. And I always see her as this like witchy goddess. And Brianna, yes, about the whole, like, I literally met you like a week later. She was like, oh, I've been told I'm a shaman. And I'm like, really cool. What, have you received any training or anything? She's like, no, apparently you're going to do that. And yes, if you're not ready for shadow work, that's what I've noticed. Most students, if they're thinking about it, but then they're hesitant, I always can tell it's because it will take you through that journey of self-healing first. That's what makes us really good at what we do, is that it drags you. And then now you know what to do when you see somebody else being dragged through the same thing. You throw them a lifeline. Okay, breathe. I went through this already. So yeah. I just thank you guys again for trusting me with your journey.
Oh, so grateful for you. And I mean, really, you know me, I'm like an all in. So I was like, I threw myself into this like 2-year dark night of the soul. And basically, if it hadn't been for you, I probably would have stayed there, because it was just like, well, there's endless things to work on, so I have to keep working on them. And you're like, no, breathe, stop.
I need you to come.
You don't have to do this to yourself.
It's the light. It's all shadow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Emotional. I would talk that another day. Maybe you'll have me on just to talk about your journey, but thinking about your journey, I get emotional. I'll cry if I start talking about everything that I've watched.
And then if you cry, you'll probably make me cry.
Yeah. She does that now, guys.
Thanks to Maestra. Because I did not. She forced that on me.
Right. And I told her I would.
I'm grateful. I swear I'm grateful. I swear.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention, following up to what you said about last, when we were on that session with the Sawain, and the history of that. And I also, right after that, I really just seen myself dedicating myself even more to that witchy path. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that right after that, I came up with the idea for like my Modern Witch Mama brand and my apothecary. And like it all started coming really quickly after that.
Nice.
So yeah, so thank you for that, because that really made me like tap into, yes, I really love that. And that's part of my purpose and path.
I love that. I don't have a whole lot, just Gwen, I think. I don't have a whole lot of really, really witchy students. So it's always exciting to me, because that was something that I was like connected to before shamanism. So I was like, oh, I get to talk to somebody about the witchy things. So.
And you three are my witchy people. I don't know a whole ton, but you guys are awesome.
But they're more so than me. I have to go to them for that stuff. Mediumship, that's always been my thing. So that is since I was 4, at least. That's my first memories.
That's so cool. And I think had more natural talent in it than I realized, and I don't remember a lot of that. As you know, I forgot a lot of my childhood, but I think that I blocked it out sometime when I was really young. And I have started seeing more very slowly. It's slowly trickling in. I think my resistance is still there a little bit. So I'm like, yeah, don't scare the crap out of me. But I do sometimes see now and stuff like that. And I know my guides specifically, they seem to call in things that are very mediumship related. And I'm like, why, you guys? Like, this was my one area of resistance. But apparently it's also my strongest point. If I can open up to it enough, it will be a very, very important thing for me. And actually, I know something very similar for Kelli as well. She's had a lot of messages lately that mediumship is really important for her. So how about, let's start with, can you actually explain to our audience, because a lot of our audience are newer even to spirituality. They might not even know what mediumship necessarily is, or they might have some really scary ideas about what it is, right? Because there's a lot of stuff out there that just seems so freaky, and I get that, because I still am. Like, I accidentally put on a show the other day that was about ghost hunting, and I was terrified, and it was like the middle of the day. I'm like, I think it's light outside. I turned that off. So can you explain to our audience what mediumship is? And yeah, maybe just start there. Let's just start there, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, sure. I'll share what it is, and then I'll share a little bit about what it isn't, because that's why I think most people are scared of it, because they get it associated with things that are not necessarily the case. So mediumship is a type of psychic ability. It's a tuning in to the energies that are in our universe, both on this side of the veil, so in the physical realm, but also in the spirit realm. So when you sense energies in the physical realm, we usually just call that like an empath. right? Somebody who's highly sensitive or somebody who's extremely empathic. They can pick up energies from like other people, or you can feel the energy of the earth, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. But when you can include that, it's more open, and it's now including picking up energy from the spirit realm as well. Now it's called mediumship. And that isn't always just the dead. It is also your spirit guides and ancestors and things like that. So your spirit team. However, what most people are associating it with are people who have transitioned. So they were alive at one point in time, they were in human form, and now they are transitioned over to the spirit realm. But it really is just, it's the same thing. It's picking up energy, just instead of from alive people, they're just not alive anymore. Not that hard.
Oh, not alive. I think this is...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You go. Some of the things.
Some of the things that it's not is like some people will be like, oh, well, you're a medium. What am I thinking right now? It's not being telepathic. It's not being a fortune teller. It's not that you are tuned into it 24/7 all the time. Although there are some unfortunate people that are that, like that. And seriously, because it can make them feel like they're going crazy, right? And so that open and that much of a beacon, and you don't train yourself. You know, I'm big. You guys know me. You guys know I'm big on protections. So if you don't train yourself to have those protections and start to close some of those windows, then you can be too open and it can like freak you out. But that's not the majority of the case for most mediums. People with mediumship, it's a thing that comes in and out. And it usually just surprises you when it happens. And another thing is that you can't dictate when it happens a lot, and you can't dictate who you talk to a lot. So some people will be like, well, can you reach my great uncle? I need to talk to him right now. I don't know. I can try, but I'm not no guarantee that I'm going to be able to speak to that specific spirit. Yeah, what else? What do you got? Questions?
I was just laughing, like the whole being surprised. Every time I'm surprised. Every time I'm scared, honestly.
You get to a point where it's not surprising anymore. Like I said, this has been something that's been a constant for me since I was 4. I will share really quickly that I used to be able to have like premonitions and stuff as a kid. I was a good little Catholic girl that scared the crap out of me. And I prayed and prayed and prayed until all of my gifts went away. That was the only one that never did. And so that was why it was like eventually, like I just got really used to it. So now it's just like, okay, I don't know whose Uncle Earl this is in my kitchen, but I need you to just step to the back of the line. I will talk to you when I go to Journey. Like, so now it's not. It's like a normal thing. Lights flickering. Hey. I don't know who's flickering these lights. You better cut it out. My husband doesn't like that stuff. He gets really scared. Knock it off before he gets home.
Oh, that's amazing.
I love that. And so I think like a lot of people get those misconceptions from popular culture too, right? Like a lot of the movie depictions that you see, you know, even like I was watching The Haunted Mansion with my daughter, and the depiction of the medium in there, it was so stereotypical at first, but then it kind of transitioned a little bit. But at first it was like that, like she was trying to, read their future or whatever. And I'm like, that's not a medium. And I kept saying like, that's not how it works.
Oh my gosh. If people listening to this, if you haven't seen that, go watch that. I loved that whole movie because
I loved it too.
Because of the depiction, because she was like totally like a phony baloney selling you some oil at first. She was going to do all the things that, and that make people roll their eyes and think that mediumship doesn't really exist, right? Because it's all a bunch of, but then she got hit with her true natural ability. It happened by accident, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is a real thing. And she suddenly was really tapped in. And then another thing that's in popular culture, and I didn't mention that it's not majority, now there are some mediums don't receive channeling. They don't have spirits that just jump into their body and take over and start speaking, their eyes rolling in the back of their head. So I think a lot of people are scared of that.
Possession? You mean possession? I don't know.
So There are different types of mediums. We have mediums that use physical items, so cards, pendulums. They can actually connect with the spirit to make the spirit move things around, or knock 3 times for yes and 2 times for no. That's a spirit. That's a medium that's using physical. Then we have mental, which is more like what I was talking about, where it's more like the energetic, the empathic, where you're just kind of sensing and you can either see pictures or you hear or feel. And then there's the mediums that are the channelers. So those are the ones that take on possession. I feel like it's only possession if you didn't give them permission, but
I guess. Okay, yes, that's fair. I right here and now say that's not my method. Okay. I will not be that one.
Boundaries, exactly.
No.
They don't have my permission to touch me. They don't have my permission to physically affect my physical reality, and they don't have the permission to enter into my body. So yeah, set your boundaries.
Yeah, see, I already set some of those boundaries without even knowing. Like, this was like a year or more ago, because my daughter came running like terrified one day from upstairs. And I'm like, what's wrong? What happened and everything? She's like, something touched my hair in my bedroom. And she ran out, and I was like, oh no. So from that day on, I said, and I said it out loud, nobody, no spirits are ever allowed to touch anybody in this house. Mm-hmm. Like, I put that boundary up, and like it never happened since then. So
good. Exactly. Ooh. That's what I mean. Ooh. Protection, boundaries with authority. I keep telling my husband, because he keeps saying something touches him and stuff. And I was like, you got to put up your boundaries with authority and mean it. But But if you have a thought of like, my dad passed away, and if you're thinking, man, I really wish I could connect with him, you might inadvertently give permission. So you got to make sure you mean, you say what you mean. I want to connect with you in my dream.
Be very clear.
Don't go around moving my cell phone, things like that.
Yeah, no doubt. So this time of year specifically ties in so well with mediumship, which is why we were so excited to have you on entire, like, just pre-Halloween episode that's going to go out. Why is this time of year known as a time when it's easier to connect with spirit, right? So they say the veil between the physical and spiritual world is the thinnest at this time. So how does that impact our connection with spirit?
Right. Yeah. So it is. The veil is thinner. This is the time of year traditionally across many cultures where people would be connecting with their ancestors. This is when a lot of people believe this is the time when ancestors can come visit us, or they're able to be around us. So they would put things out on their altars, their porches. They would set a spot at their table. There's different things that people would do to connect with the spirits that have passed away. So traditionally, that's always been the case. Why that is exactly, I'm not exactly sure the reason why this is the time of year. I feel like it's because it was the close of the year for our ancestors previously. We would have been in the new year now, not in December. But the veil is thin at this time. And so if you have psychic abilities of any kind, you'll feel them a lot stronger, usually in the fall. It's my favorite time of the year because of it also as well. Yeah. Yay, because I love all the spooky and creepy and shadow stuff. So
not Kelli over here pulling out her Halloween decorations in September.
Yeah, right?
It was like the beginning of September. I'm like, Kelli, what are you doing?
Like, absolutely, September 1. It is now official. It's Halloween now. Right. And so that makes it a good time to connect if you want to. It's good for you if you want to. It's not necessarily good for you. It's not something you are meaning to. But this is also a time that people can find out that they have gifts that they didn't know they had. Because suddenly around this time of year, they're getting visits from Uncle Earl, and they're having more vivid dreams, and they're, connecting more with the spirit realm. So that makes it a great time of year to connect with all the spooky things.
I find this both in this fall equinox, but also in the spring one. And I woke up to somebody talking right beside me and like things like that, where I'm like, I did not okay this. I didn't specifically say no though, so that's on me. But you're the crowd.
Yeah, so what's really interesting for me is that in the past, so at the beginning of September, one of my dogs passed away. And I feel like that opened up my connection so much more to mediumship, because I was so willing to communicate with him. And I was like, yes, I want to receive a message from you. Bring it on. Bring it on, you know? So ever since then, and I've been talking to Bri about this, like it just opened up some new channel for me. And I'm super excited to see where that goes.
Good. That makes me happy. I don't think it's, I think that it's something that you don't have to be afraid of, as long as you practice good spiritual hygiene and protections like those. As long as you put that up, you speak with authority. It's kind of like going to a new doctor or therapist or something. Like you go and try it out, and then you like see what doesn't work for you and what does, and you start speaking up on that. And you say, okay, I liked this, but less of this, and you just tell the guides, because we have free will, we're able to put that boundary on the spirits. They have to listen to us, because we're still the ones in the physical realm with a physical body.
I love that.
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
do say that a lot to like my clients and to my, like even just my coaching clients, saying like, we have full control. And when it comes to like spirit guides and stuff like that, I've been directing even my business clients lately to manifest by specifically telling their guides what they want help with, like because their guides are just sitting there waiting basically to be given like the okay to help, right? They can't intervene unless you give them the okay. So that's one of the things that I've been bringing up. But I love that, like both sides of it, right? Where you can also say like, enough. That's right. And the one that has been coming up a lot lately is that no, where it's like, okay, I'm calling this in, and then something comes and you're like, okay, but that's not quite right. And you get to say, that's not quite right. And we get to say, let's try this now. Let's like tweak it a little bit and try to find the exact right outcome that we're looking for, right? So
a good example that might also help people who are really afraid. I've never seen like a gory spirit. My guides helped me put that boundary up as a little girl, that they weren't allowed to scare me. They weren't allowed to show up with no eyes or a slit throat or any of those things that some people see. And I feel very, very like lucky for that, because I know I have a lot of friends with mediumship abilities, and they always come to them in like the scariest forms. And so, but I put that boundary up a long time ago. They're not allowed to show themselves to me that way. I had one girl that tried it, and I literally told her, knock that off. Show me what you really look. Show me your real form. And she changed her form for me. But that wasn't like super gory. She just was trying to like scare me. Like her hair was in front of her face. And, she's doing like the whole like, ooh, I'm spooky thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? No, cut that out. But yeah.
Actually, I did take that advice from you previously. And I have set that boundary that no spirit is ever allowed to show themselves to me in that way that would scare me like that. I've even said like, try not to startle me, but that doesn't work. I startle way too.
Language, huh?
Yeah.
But right. Yeah.
I don't know how they could not startle me though, because like I literally, my kids come around the corner, I'm like, ah!
I was gonna say, they're telling me, that's you, that's not them, that's not their fault. So
yeah, reasonable.
I get that. It's not different from spirit guides. It's just that we put them in different categories. So for me, spring is more like this, like the high, like a floaty fairy, those kind of spirit guides, angelic. And then in fall equinox, that's more ancestors, those members of the 13 transition lines.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense.
Actually that's a good transition to like talking about, connecting with your ancestors during this time. And do you have any tips for people listening, any personal practices you can recommend or rituals that they can do those practices to honor their ancestors during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So of course, my favorite thing is going to say to have some type of ancestor altar if you don't already. It doesn't have to be super fancy. Just something that you set up in a place in your house where it's not going to get messed up too much. If you have a cat, you can't really. Cats love altars for some reason. I think it's because they know they're divine. But But setting up something just really small where you have a little bowl where you can put things like offerings, like food or fruit, something for water, a candle. I like to put something alive. You guys can't see, but I have plants around me. I like to try to pick something. If you choose flowers, just replenish them when they die. And then if you have things that remind you of any of the people that passed away, you could put those things on the altar. So that way it's constantly kind of growing. You have something sentimental. If you have somebody else pass away in your life, or you learn about a new ancestor that you didn't know about, somebody tells you about them, then now you can be like, oh, well, now I would like to add something to my altar in order to honor them. Other things you can do is look up, cross-cultural shamanism. Look up other cultures. Look up what other cultures do to celebrate. So Dia de los Muertos is coming up. Samhain is also about honoring our ancestors. There are Tibetan and all kinds of different traditions that you can look up and find. See which ones resonate with you that you like a lot. And you can maybe pick that up as a practice. And then the other one I mentioned earlier was like even just setting up a place at the table. Just, like Thanksgiving would come up, or what other holidays might be coming up that you actually celebrate. Setting a spot at the table for your loved ones, just kind of general. You don't have to like have one for every single person that passed away. Just having setting a table at the table that says this one's for our ancestors, this one's for our loved ones. I always thought that was a very beautiful practice as well.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
I love all those.
I have, so for anyone with cats, if you have a bookshelf, what I did actually, so mine is not cats, mine is insane children. So they throw stuff around and I don't want it to get like knocked over or broken or whatever. So I have in my bookshelf, what I did was I like took a chunk of books out and I made like a little altar in the bookshelf. Like, you know how some people will have like decorative pieces in between their books and stuff like that. So I have little altars in my bookshelf. Yeah. And that has worked really well for me, for the kids to I can also have it like up higher where they can't touch it or, things like that. And in my ancestral one specifically, I have flowers from the casket, like, or from like their actual funeral. So I've got like dried, obviously, like they're not like rotted away, right? They're just dried out, but I've got like roses from my nanas, and I have this really cool, I don't even know what it's called. It's like a feather, but it's a flower. Like it's the coolest flower I've ever seen. And it was from my other grandmother's funeral. And I just have like little pieces like that. And then I have their little, at a lot of like funerals or celebrations of life where they have like the little pamphlet thing with the picture of them and like little description. So I have those set up on there as well. And I think that's the thing is like, I thought for a little while that like an altar had to be like, so I don't know. I probably just had too high expectations, as with everything else. Right. But I was like, I thought it had to be like so perfect. And it made it easier for me to put these types of things that I didn't have to remember all the time, to put new, like I do try, like I will go and I do put like a little thing of moon water on all of my altars and like things like that. But, I have a horrible memory and I can be inconsistent, right? Like I can have my time during the month where I'm like, I forget that anything exists and I'm hyper focused on something else. So having these ones that I didn't have to like replenish every few days, like live flowers and stuff like that, that made it a lot easier for me. So
I'm taking your little altars on the go too. Like I teach, I have that like a little segment of that on my online classes. I think that one is working with energy and spirit, or stepping in the spiritual path. One or the other. The first or the second class, I talk about making altars that you can take on the go. So like say if you live with someone else, or you don't have your own space or something like that, or it would get messed up by kids or animals or anything like that, you can have one that you kind of put in a little spot, a little sacred space that you can keep in your person, in your purse or stuff. You just throw it right in there with you and just kind of keep it. And the other thing is digital altars. I'm really big on digital vision boards and digital altars. So sometimes I will create altars specifically dedicated to a specific deity, to my ancestors, to something, and I will put pieces together really beautifully in a collage, and then I'll keep that collage in my phone. So
I love
you
that.
can visit it that way. as
that
well.
is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I didn't mention also was just a candle, just a plain white candle. White. I say white because different colors mean different things. I'm sure you guys maybe talk about that here on your podcast. So I would say, just to keep it simple, you can always take a white candle and light it and just set the intention that you are opening communication. If you want to try to reach your ancestors or open up your mediumship abilities, you light the candle and say, I'm setting the intention to talk to someone, put up your protections. Only the people you give permission to are allowed to be there. But that candle lets them know, oh, she's open for business. She wants to talk. He or she is ready to connect. They are wanting me to come and join the conversation. And so that's another way that we can honor and even connect with our ancestors.
Yeah. And that's basically what I do too. Like, I always have that ancestor altar set up, but I'll go light the candle when I'm thinking of them, when I want to pay respects, when I want it. So that's beautiful. So
do you have anything that you do currently for like your ancestors?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have like a general ancestors altar set up. Actually, I set it up right after we did that session last around Halloween. Yeah, I set it all up then, and I've been adding to it since then. So I actually have pictures. I have favorite things, but we have animals, so we drew them out because I can't put food because my animals will get the food.
Got it.
My daughter and I drew them out on paper and cut them out and put their favorite foods and like their favorite things. I have crystals on there. I have a representation of like all 4 elements. And so, yeah, I have that. And I also, like, occasionally I'll do like another small altar around the house, like if I feel called to do it for a specific person or deity or something.
Yeah, that's what I have, like, you can't see like my, because it's supposed to be covered, but I have a bookshelf behind me, and each layers for something different. So that way I can change them out and make them what I want them to be. And they're all dedicated to different things. So I have my ancestors, they have their own shelf. And then like the deity I'm working with has their own shelf. And then my business and my marriage, they all have their own separate shelves. So you do it that way, or like you said, the ones around the house. I had a friend that she had them like all over the house. And I can't wait to have like a big house, because I'll have altars everywhere.
Yeah, I had to clean up some of mine because we did get a cat 2 months ago.
Yeah.
He was like grabbing stuff off of him and running around.
Yep, that's
so I have to clean some of this up and put it up somewhere else.
Yep, that's what they'll do. It's so funny. Some people have 16 Christmas trees. Every Christmas I would have like 16 altars. That would be
yeah.
There might be Christmas trees on some of those altars, like little plants, little potted, little trees. But yeah.
That's amazing. So, have you ever had, or can you share with us a particular mediumship experience, a really profound one, or a really memorable one that really stands out for you as far as mediumship goes? I'm sure there are probably a lot of them, considering since you were 4 years old, like there's probably a lot, but is there one that you would like to share, I guess?
Yeah. I'd like you said, I absolutely love mediumship work, actually. Again, I know that some people it's not been a pleasant thing for them. So I know that coming in and out of it, I didn't know before setting boundaries. I didn't know that like being a medium and an empath and a highly sensitive was making me a crazy person. So I'm not invalidating that to anyone at all, but learning to smudge my energy and release other people's, energy from mine, and even the spirits, they come around and they have their energies and stuff like that. Releasing them, cutting cords and smudging, that really helps. But since then, since I learned how to do those things, I've had really, really great mediumship sessions and interactions. And so one of my favorite ones was right after I actually told the guides I wanted to do more mediumship work if I was meant to. I don't put it up on my website because to me, it's very personal, and I only help those that I know I can, because I'll ask the guides, hey, am I meant to help this person? They're talking about that they're really grieving the loss of their brother or whoever. And so I don't want to offer it unless I get permission. I already know that I can help. But I was watching like a documentary on like past life regression, on near-death experiences, and mediumship. It was like going through all these different like really interesting experiences, and I was like, this is something that I don't haven't really tapped in for others in like a long time or anything. So, if I'm meant to do that, I told my spirit guides, if I'm meant to do this, if I'm supposed to help people, send people my way, send me someone that I can help using mediumship. And almost immediately, like I swear, within the next, it couldn't have been more than 7 days. It was somewhere within that 1 week period. My mother reaches out to me. She says she has this coworker who's really having a hard time. My mother has always been very supportive of the fact that she knows that I had gifts. So kudos to you, Kelli, and Brianna with your kids and stuff, tapping in and realizing when they're gifts. I was hanging out with your daughter last night, Kelli, so I hope that was okay. If me and her were like in astral realm, and I was like, oh, I haven't visited. I forgot. I'm visiting with you. Hello, how are you doing? I'll tell you guys about the spirits that came up for you too as well. Anyway, but yeah, so my mother was like, hey, I have this person I work with. She's really having a hard time. She lost her husband. Maybe you could give her a message or something, just something that'll help her through this grief. My mom had no idea that I had just said that thing to the universe, and she just knew. So I was like, okay, here's my chance, let me try it out. So I just started to tap in, started to see what I could get. I started getting pictures in my mind, and I'm not talking to this woman directly. I'm just giving these messages to my mom to give to her, like just trying to help, right? Not a session. But things were coming in really clear. He was right there right away. I asked for his name and, what other information she could give me. And she gave me information, not too much though. I saw a hospital bed. I saw these beautiful butterflies. I saw a man and a woman's hand, like kind of posed in a picture, like over each other with their wedding rings, but their hands were older. It kept being very vivid that the hand is like pointing my direction, my focus, to see that the hands were older, but they were showing me the rings, And so I was telling her all of this. For some reason, as like a depiction, did you guys get married older? Like, were you older when you got married? Is this your second marriage? Because they want me to know you guys are older. And this is like, the rings are showing like this. And then there's these butterflies. And then there's this hospital bed and so on and so forth. And so the woman is replying back. I told him that after all of these years, he still gives me butterflies. And so she said, that's the butterflies. And then she said, the rings, we celebrated our anniversary, but he was in the hospital. We just celebrated it before he passed away. Then she said, we were separated for like several years, like over 10 years. They were separated and they weren't going to be together. But then they got back together later in life. And they always said, it's like we got a second chance. And so then he ended up getting cancer, and she was taking care of him. And so at first it was just these pictures I was seeing, and I was telling her what the things were that I was seeing in the pictures, and she was just floored at the things I was telling her. But then finally his voice came in loud and clear, and he was repeating himself. He's showing me the hospital bed, and he's saying that, he was trying to talk to her, trying to tell her something, but she didn't get to get the message from him, and that she did her best. She was doing, everything. He's so sorry. He mentioned something about her giving her life up, and she's like, after she moved back in with him and he ended up getting sick again, she like had to put her whole life on hold for him. And there was resentment in that. She did have resentment in him for getting sick on her. And, she had to put everything on hold, but she did take care of him. And so I started to speak into the memo, the voice memo, everything I'm hearing, and I try to say it exactly how I heard it, because I could hear the cadence in his voice, the tone in his voice, everything. So something nudged me and told me, put that on the memo. I feel like it would help her for some reason. And my mother forwarded everything to her that I sent, and she came back and she was like, wow. She was like, it was like I was hearing him in that voice, in the voice memo. She sounded just like him. And that was really my hope. And it was such a nice encounter. It really helped her. It helped her to feel solid. She felt guilty at the fact that she was resentful for him being sick. And so he's telling her, no, I understand, so on and so forth. And so it gave her the closure I was hoping for, but it also gave me tons of confirmation of like, okay, this is so real. That I do the same thing for shamanic journeys still to this day, right? I'm a big kid. Wow. How did they know that? Yeah, but that was one of my favorite encounters because it was really meaningful. And like I said, they're all meaningful, and it gives me a lot of joy to be able to share those kinds of messages with people.
That's really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. And it's so funny you're saying that, like, you still get that with Shamanic Journey. I do too. And like literally today, Kelli certified me in Reiki too. And we did, like, I sent her distance healing just like as the practice or whatever. And afterwards, when she was saying she could feel it, I'm like, yes, you could feel it. I didn't believe it. Like, it's totally that like confirmation of, okay, yeah, I am doing this right. Somehow I'm doing it right? You're just not 100% sure. And I know you're really similar to me in that way, or you used to be at least. And I know that, like me in your classes, I was very like in my head at the beginning. Like that was one of the biggest things. I was like, I don't know if it's me. I don't know. Like, I think I might just be making this up, right? Like I had a hard time trusting it at first. So I totally get that feeling. And even today, like when we were starting, I'm like, yeah, I'm really nervous. I feel like I don't know if I can do this. Right. But then she's like, yeah, I can feel it. And I'm like,
yep.
Oh,
I always
definitely get that feeling.
Don't underestimate anything. The smallest details. It may feel like it doesn't make any sense to you, but you can share that with someone and they know exactly what that means. And you just gave them the most peace by sharing that tiny little detail. If they show it to you and it's like a big thing, I always just say, like, don't question it. So, have confidence that there's a reason for it. And even if they don't know right then and there, I've had clients that have gone and shared with their family how the session went. And then they'll come back and be like, I didn't know what that meant, but then I was talking to my sister about it. And she was like, remember that one time? And and they'll come back and they'll be like, I completely forgot about that. And I'm like, that's so cool. So like they have other people talk, that meant this, so that referred to this moment. So yeah, it's really, really, really cool to see like all of those things. And I did try to tap in for you guys last night to see if I could pick up any like spirits. So I was like, that would be fun. Ooh. I wanted to bring the cards and talk about dowsing rods and everything, but we got to keep it at an hour. So I was like, okay, I can't do all that. For all of you guys listening, if you want to dive more into it, you guys are going to have to join me in classes or something. But
yes, or hire her for a session. She's amazing.
A session with me. But I decided, I was like, it's really fun to see if anybody wants to come and talk to me so I can share this information. So sorry, Brianna. So Brianna, they weren't connected to you. They were connected to the little one. My favorite, the little warrior princess. Do we already know this? Okay. So I was like,
no, but okay. Yes and no. My son has been the big focus lately, but I'm not surprised that you with Casey, because she has always been like, you and her are somehow, very connected.
Right. Yeah. She's my little Viking warrior princess. So I was trying to tap in for you, but they kept like directing me. And this was this tall figure. Okay. Long white sleeves with like black accents over it, high collar, and very, very kind of like, what I want to say is the feeling I got was like school marm kind of feeling. Like she was like, with her stick and stuff like that, but just like wanting to shape young minds and make sure that they grew into like all they could be. But she was very, very much in this black and white outfit, and she was tall and skinny. And I can imagine that like people would have called her like a witch or somebody spooky, like, you know what I mean, when she was alive, because she had these like bony features and she just looked like she was really, really strict when she was alive. But she was not like that with Casey at all. Like she just felt like she really, really like is fond of her, and so she just kind of took her on and became her protector. But she was someone who was alive at one point in time, and could possibly even be a relative, but she is assigned herself to your daughter. So that was who showed up. She had her hair like this bouffant kind of hairstyle with the bun like kind of thing on top, and like narrow face, narrow features, very, very stern look on her face. But the black and white outfit was like so old school with the high collar and stuff, I wouldn't even be able to tell you. So that's who showed up for her. And then Kelli, this was a woman that was like over your shoulder. She was like actually like over you. And then I saw her kind of like grab your hand and like was guiding you to right. And so this was somebody who would have been influential in your life like that. Somebody that would have been someone who was like a guide or a teacher, somebody who was in your life and kind of influencing you and wanting you to be, you know, all that you could be. But she's with you now, and she wants you to know she's guiding you, and she's in your writings, in your teachings, everything that you're doing. She's right there looking over your shoulder, and she still has your hand. She's still guiding you even to this day. And so that's who came up. And so that's giving me goosebumps and emotion. So
I feel that's my grandma.
That's who I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That has to be my grandma, because it's making me emotional too. Because when I wrote my books recently, when I wrote in my multi-author books, one of them like talked about her life a little bit in there. So I felt it was a very kind of a catharsis for me to write that story. And I did feel very much like she was right here, you know, while I was writing that. So that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is beautiful. So I definitely see her. She was a big influence in life and still now. And proud of you. She feels like super proud of you. So that was nice to feel that energy as well. Just to let you know, Brianna, everyone else showed up. I just wanted someone new for you. Okay. So just so you know, I'm already connected to. I saw your granny. I saw I was an uncle. I was like, I've seen y'all before. I know I've seen y'all before, but I want someone new. So just to let you know, they popped up. And I was like, no, show me someone different. And then that's who I got.
I'll have to take a journey and find out who that was, because I'm not sure. I know I have a lot of like even my grandfather was a teacher and a principal and stuff like that. Like, so I know that I have several ancestors that were in like the teaching field. So like it makes sense. I'm not sure who specifically, but yeah.
Like the bony fingers are the things that stand out the most to me. And then I thought that they were saying that she was Black because I couldn't see her at first. I was hearing like this thing, and I was like, the one who's Black? Is that what you guys are saying? And they were like, no, the one who wears black, or the one who's in black. So when you go through and you're trying to find her, for some reason, that was also another, this like a depicting feature was that she either was referred to as the one who wears black or the one in black, something along those lines. So doesn't necessarily mean she was a school mom. That's just the kind of energy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But she was maybe a widow, because of the black.
One in black.
That might have been something that they're trying to tell me, is that she was like in mourning for a long time. But yeah, so those are just little hints to help you figure out.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. And I'm also just giggling that you were in the astral realm with Kelly's daughter last night, because we know Kelly, we know that Emma is so tuned in. Like she's very, and she's had like, she'll say things and Kelly's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like we know. So that's not surprising.
Me and Emma have interacted before, and I just completely haven't got a chance to connect with Kelly in a while. So I just completely forgot. And then when I was tapping in, trying to figure out, if any spirits wanted to come and speak for you, Emma just kind of showed up. It was just kind of like, hi. And I was like, hi, yeah, I did for you. See you about what? So
I love that.
That was really fun. So I was like, oh, I forgot she could do this. She could do this. So that was just kind of fun. She was hanging out in the ethers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, okay. I'm trying to think here. I wonder if, we talk a little bit about energy clearing and energy protections on this podcast in general. And I know we'll probably do full deep dive episodes into those, just Kelly and I, and we both include it in our work that we do in our businesses. But do you have any tips that you can offer for people who are not trained specifically? Because I think a lot of our audience, our listeners, are not necessarily trained. They're just curious for how to put up protections or clear their energy, is specifically in relation to mediumship, and maybe especially at this time of year, where, like you said, people that are highly sensitive or empathic might be noticing gifts that they didn't know they had before. What can people do to make sure that they are safe, protected, and feeling like secure, that they're not going to go outside the bounds of what they're comfortable with, right?
Right. Good question. My favorite tip for that, and like you said, just for beginners, there's lots of tips I could give to you, like I said earlier, like cleansing yourself and things like that. But the easiest one for anyone to do is to give permission to your protective guides. So just kind of setting the intention in your heart and in your mind. Hey, whoever is out there, my guardian angels, the guides that are my protectors, I now give you permission to act as a bodyguard on my behalf and keep anything away from me that is not of my highest good. Very simple. Just if they're not here for my good and with the intention of the good of the collective and my well-being at heart, they're just not allowed to be in my energy. And I give you permission, because they can't help you until you do that part. You have to give them permission to I'm like, what am I trying to say here? You have to give them permission to act on your behalf, because once again, we have that free will. They're not really allowed to just interject on our free will and our path. So they might be sitting by wanting to help, and they can't, because you haven't taken that step yet to say, oh, I just have to give you my permission.
Amazing. That is such a perfect tip, because like I said, I have been telling my ladies to specifically ask their guides for help to manifest the things that they want to manifest. So that is so aligned with specifically what I've been telling my clients lately. No, I really love that. And I love, so I know one of the things that has come up with some of the people in my world who are not very spiritual, who are just coming into this kind of stuff, is they're like, set intentions. What does that mean? Like, how do I, and really, it is that simple. It's having it in your heart, in your mind, just thinking it, believing it. And then even for a lot of people, I think it really helps to say it out loud, to really anchor it in.
And yeah, just going off of what you said, Brianna, and adding to that, I would say, like, there's nights that I do not sort of state all of my intentions out loud, because like I'm too tired or whatever. And then I always regret not doing that, because I feel like actually stating them out loud puts them into a solid sort of reality for me that manifests them into the current reality that I am in. So I would always say and add that, like, as an extra tip to people listening, that if you have specific intentions that you like to set every morning or every night, it really helps to say them out loud, even if you're repeating the same thing over. And another thing is that I am Reiki attuned. As we talked about earlier, Brianna just took my Reiki classes as well to get attuned to Reiki. But having something like that to throw on top of your intentions as an extra energetic sort of protection, like surrounding all of my intentions in Reiki energy, or maybe for you, it's, could be shamanism. There's certain protections that you can do as well, right? So just having those extra pieces, I feel like really also wraps those intentions up really nicely, and you can really feel the energy surrounding those intentions. And I just think it's really important to sometimes speak those aloud.
Yep, I agree. So I agree. And just saying it in a way, eventually you get to the point where you are believing it. And if you feel like you're like worried about it, just keep saying it. Just keep repeating it again. Yeah. Like if you feel like it's like you lock the doors. Once you lock the doors, they're locked. right? But if you feel
Yeah.
worried about it, sure, you can get up and go check. You can go and unlock them and relock them again. But if that makes you feel better, but eventually you'll be like, you know what? I know I locked the door. It's fine. And
Yeah.
you can go to sleep.
Yeah. And I think even with that, like, so specifically, a lot of the people who are going to or might feel spirits, energy, whatever, are going to be empathic or highly sensitive. And that is one of the things I think that ties into it a lot. So we put our intention into it, but also while you set that intention, or before and after and during, sort of trying to pay attention to how you're feeling, right? Feeling how you felt before, feeling how you're feeling as you're trying to set this intention, and then feeling how you're feeling after, because you can probably feel the comfort and safety sort of feelings that will come with having set that intention and having asked for that protection. So
yeah, that actually brings up one more point I would like to just say to your listeners. Your feelings attract the spirits and the guides that are around you, not the guides, but the spirits, right? So you will attract spirits based off of your vibration. And so if you have a fearful vibration, then it's easier to attract things that are going to scare you, right? Things that are going to give you jumpy scares. If you are feeling depressed, you are a vibrational match for a spirit that maybe died in the fit of a depression or in a very depressing way. If you are, if there's lots of fights in the home, if your family is bickering, you may be a vibrational match for spirits that are angry and they want to cause trouble. They're mad, they're resentful that they're dead, and so they're going to be in your house making you guys argue with each other even more, because why shouldn't you be miserable? They're miserable. And so these are things that people don't realize. So if you feel like you're watching this episode because you have something going on in your house, cleansing your own energy, figuring out what's going on in you is the easiest way to disconnect from that spirit. When you are no longer a vibrational match to that spirit, the spirit will leave you alone. But as long as you're connected to it and going, well, things are always following me and things are always happening to me and the world is a scary place, you're going to keep inviting scary things to happen with you. So again, going with that belief and like just knowing that you're protected and it can't happen without your permission, that will help to clean up the energy around you.
So I love that. And it kind of reminds me of the whole concept of you attract what you put out there. So for someone who is consistently, reacting in anger to certain things that are happening in their everyday life, maybe they're angry, they're stuck in traffic, they're angry, they're stuck in a line in the grocery store. They're just putting out all this kind of negative energy, right? So they're attracting back that negative energy to them. So that really connects and clicks with what you just said. So it makes a lot of sense that if you clear your own energy up, that will often clear up the energy of the things you're attracting into your energetic field. So I really love that you touched on that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. So coming up to the end here, I would love to hear a little bit about what you've got going on, ways that people can connect with you right now. Anyone listening to this, I recommend her left, right, and center. Like, she is amazing. I will, you and I have talked about, we've got 3-4 different classes I'm joining here coming up. I've done the advanced level shamanic practitioner with you, but I am going onwards. There's more to explore. There's lots that she covers. And I would love for you to share with us what you've got coming up. And specifically, though, things that are sort of always ongoing. What is usually available? Because somebody might be listening to this, who knows how long down the road, and we would love them to still be able to connect with you. So how do people reach out to you? What are some ways that people can regularly work with you? So other than specifically classes that are coming up right now. And then also I'm still happy to hear about what classes you've got coming up soon for anyone that listens right away, right? So.
Right. Okay, so you can always find classes at the Mystery School. So you said when you so graciously introduced me earlier, you mentioned the Wisdom Dvine Mystery School. It is spelled in a weird way, so people who are listening, it's WYZDOM.
Yeah, look in the show notes. We'll make sure that it's
and Divine is without the first I, just DVINE. And so the Wisdom Dvine Mystery School always has classes. The ones that are up all the time are called Shamanic Path Core classes. And so there's 4 classes. You can take them separately or you can take them together as a bundle. If you're interested in becoming a certified shamanic practitioner, as Coach Bree and Kelli have shared with you guys that they joined in. So you'd have to start there. Those are your prerequisites. But even if you just want to take them as standalone classes, like I said, the first one is working with spirit and energy. That's going to teach you about protections and everything that we talked about today, putting up those spiritual and energetic boundaries, writing your own protection statement that is personal to you, calling in your specific guides and stuff. And the next one is stepping into a spiritual path. That's talking about where you feel like you really are wanting to go even further and really learn how to set up your altars and work with spirit in a specific way, in a personal way. Then the next 2 classes start to introduce you to shamanism. So then you have introduction to shamanism, which gives you history and some exercises that you can do to start kind of sharpening your shamanic eye. And then the last one is shamanic journey basics, which is going to teach you how to go on a journey. We call that journey, but it's trance. So you're going into a meditative trance state where you're able to have a communication and dialogue directly with your spirit guides, again, with your protections up. So this will teach you through all of those. So again, you can take them at any time. It's always good to get them done when you think that you might want to get a shamanic certification, because those are your prerequisites in order to start there. And then coming up, it will be on, it's not there yet, but on the Mystery School will be Shamanic Reiki. So I'll just keep adding classes so you can always go there. And then she'll have the link on there. It's mysteryschool.wisdomdvine.com. So you can always check there for classes. And then you can always check my website for bookings, to book with me, to find out more about shamanism, to find out more about the things I offer in me. And that's wisdomdvine.com. So if there's any events going on, right now I have a fall session promo going on. We get 30 minutes with me, and you get into intuitive messages plus a healing for $68. That's happening right now. The Moon Key, the rights of the Moon Key, those are always up if you want to book just a one-on-one, but I also give group classes periodically. So I have a group class coming up on November 8th. But if you go to the website, you'll see it as a booking. If you would like to receive the rights of the Moon Key, I gift those, and I give a mentoring that we will be together for 14 weeks, where we'll go through all of the archetypes of the foundation rights. And then that's part 1 and part 2. So that's broken up into 2 parts. So yeah, those are the things that I have going on all the time. If you're interested in the shamanic certification classes, you can always look to see when's the next one. Those happen live on Zoom. So you can always look on my website to see when the next one is going to start. I have one starting in January, but whenever you're listening to this, you can just go to the website and find out when's the next one going to be.
Yeah, I just have to say a little bit about the Nike rights. So if anyone is on the fence about doing that, I would highly recommend to take those rights with Wisdom Dvine, because last fall, I want to say it was last fall, Brianna and I both took those classes together. And it was honestly one of the most transformative experiences I have ever been through. And I ended up doing it right after I also became a Holy Fire Reiki master practitioner. So I had a lot of big energetic changes happening at once, but it really brought things into a lot of perspective for me on my own personal journey. So if you are thinking about doing that, I just wanted to drop that line that I would highly recommend first taking the core courses through the mystery school and then jumping into the Moonai rites. I actually did it opposite, but if you have no experience at all, you might want to do the core courses first. That'll give you a good solid background. But yeah, that was, and I can't wait to do part 2 coming up in November.
Yeah, and like even the core, the beginning classes that you have on there, that whether somebody wants to get into shamanism specifically or not, that sounds like a really, really strong foundation for anyone who's looking to just sort of explore spirituality a little bit and connect with their guides and just feel a little bit more confident about specifically their safety.
Yeah.
So I think would help people to feel more confident with their safety and with their just knowing that their energy is protected and knowing how to clear their energy and all of that. That sounds amazing. That sounds like a really great foundational piece. And I know when I started with you, that stuff was sort of all built into the shamanism classes. So those got added after. And I believe I actually do have them. So I should just go and do them so that I can speak to it. But I'm sure they're incredible. And honestly, if what you've said in the past has any say in it, all my zillions of questions in class probably really contributed.
Yes, obviously. You were one of the first classes. You were my third group that I taught level 1, 2. So you were one of the first classes. All the questions I got from the ones that were really good at asking questions, and we know you were the best. Asking the challenging questions, it helped me to see what kind of things were missing from the actual training themselves. And we talked about them in your class because the questions got asked. But if they wouldn't have been, then I would have missed some things. And then also people were coming to class that were at different levels. Like we're saying, like my audience, I have a YouTube channel. Forgot. Oh, you guys can also find me on YouTube. We got lots of free information there. But on my YouTube channel and stuff, I try to like speak to people at different levels because they'll find me there and then they'll sign up for class. And then some people are 12-year witches, and some people are like just had their first awakening and they just left the church 6 months ago. So I have like the different levels, and in order to get us all on the same page, that's why I wrote these classes, so that way you have the same basic information and we all will be working from that same place when we start together,
which is brilliant. It's so brilliant. So I love that. And I really want to thank you for coming on with us today, because I've missed you, first of all, because we haven't been in classes for a little while. I can't wait for November for Moonai. But it's been really great talking with you, and thank you for sharing with our audience about this very fun, spooky topic. For me, it's still that little bit of spookiness, but there's but I am more open to it now, right? And every sort of equinox that comes up, I'm like, I wonder what this is going to bring. Because every time it's I'm a little bit more open to it, and I'm a little bit more ready. And so I'm like, okay, like it's coming. But I really appreciate you being here today.
Yes, thank you so much for coming onto this podcast today. This was such a great conversation. As you obviously know, I absolutely love all these topics. And this is like my favorite time of the year. I am such a Halloween person, love all the things Halloween, Samhain, Day of the Dead, all of those things. So I was just so thrilled when I realized that we were going to be having you on here as a guest. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of your beautiful knowledge and experiences with our listeners. And I really hope to have you back on the podcast sometime in the future. If you're open to that, that would be great to have a part 2.
Thank you for
is there anything else that you would like to share to wrap up before we close off today?
No, that's it. People can't see us, but I'm looking at you in your wonderful orange, like you look like you're warm and you're like all in your like autumn stuff and everything. And I'm literally in this cut off, shoulder t-shirt. California versus Canada. So I just wanted to point that out. If you guys could see that, it's hilarious. I want to be when it looks like fall right now, but yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely adore you guys. I miss you both. You're so busy. You know, I have stuff that you can come to. You can come to Shamanic Circle whenever you want to come hang out with the rest of your fellow student tribe. But yeah, that's it. I'm just really happy to be here, and I love spooky things. I just want. Hello, my name is Maestra Wisdom, and I love spooky things.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And actually I will be attending more circles again coming up here. I had a really insane last few months, but I'm definitely missing it, and the connection, and missing my classmates. And we were talking about, even before we started recording, your son, who's been in classes with me before and stuff, and like, it's just I miss everybody. So definitely looking forward to that as well. So thank you so much for coming on today. And for everyone who's listening, go check out the show notes and check out her website, check out her YouTube channel, follow her. And if you are at all called, take her classes, because they are incredible and life-changing. And be ready for that if you're going to do that, because it will change your life. It's going to be nothing. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you all next time.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like it and subscribe. And if you really loved it, we would love a 5-star review, which helps us reach more people with our message. Comment your thoughts on the episode below, or if you have any questions you'd like us to answer in a future episode. Talk to you next time.